So, Mukul, please give us an introduction about your background. What has your professional, expertise has been like?
Okay, hi. So I'm Mukul Kashyap. I'm from Delhi. I did a bachelor's and master's in English from Kirodimal College. Post that, I started working in content marketing, and my first job was in a fintech startup where I made efforts on customer acquisition, retention, and I worked on the mobile app for the UX. So my career started in technology marketing. I moved on to Gartner, where I helped categorize a lot of software products, increased visibility for vendors on Gartner websites, and understood a lot more about how product view, taking a view of different products, benefits, use cases, what industries need what, especially in terms of tech. So that translated into me going into an analytics startup called Squad Stack, where I worked as a senior marketer. And a lot of my role involved, again, customer acquisition, customer engagement, retention, onboarding, and a customer experience on the analytics product itself. So I worked with a lot of stakeholders. I've worked with technology teams, product teams, data science team, sales team as well, along with the executive team. And I also had efforts on organizational PR, organizational branding. Since I was in a startup, assisting them post the fundraise and then significant projects around branding as well. Working on the product brand or working on a product launch, go-to-market strategy. So I had an exposure to a lot of different verticals. Around after 4 years of experience, I wanted to get a sense of what a strategy is and have a seat at the higher table. And I felt that an MBA would complement all these learnings as well as give me an understanding of business as well as different divisions of the business. Starting from I was in marketing, but I want to learn a bit about operations, finance, supply chain, uh, some about traditional industries as well. So for me, at that point, a 1 year MBA made a lot of sense because I was in the industry and I wanted to get back, but I also wanted that time frame to grow as a professional. And I therefore then that's when my journey began, and I began to look out for a lot of MBA colleges within India and abroad.
All right. So yours is a very diverse profile. So
Yes.
thinking of pursuing an MBA. So what exactly triggered the search for an MBA? So when you decide you want to pursue an MBA, plus what were the criteria that were important for you to select a school?
Sure. So while I was, my profile is correct, it's a little different. And while I was working in the industry, I felt that a lot of projects that I used to also work on, suppose be it product launch, go to market, these require a lot of cross-functional skills. So to be a senior professional, I saw the senior professionals in my team, people who were VPs or people who were in the strategy teams. They could understand a lot more about how to finance, to raise the finance or to manage the finance for the product. They also understood the nuances of building the right distribution plan or building the right sales channels, and they also understood things like pricing. So for me, I think these kind of these and analyzing a problem on these dimensions as well, that was important to grow further in my career. I felt like if I did not know about these different facets, my career would not grow within marketing. At least at that point, that was what I was thinking of. And I thought that for me to have an MBA would also ensure, because I was pretty sure that I wanted a long-term career in business and corporate, especially in growing industries like especially in technology or the world of startups. So I felt that I could add more value. Additionally, basically, yeah, I felt a lack of these skills, and a lot of times on the job, you're so caught up with the projects that you're working on or your deliverables that you don't have time to take a structured view of outside learning. I mean, I did do a lot of courses on Coursera here and there, but they did not provide me such a holistic picture of how these things work. And also I wanted access to a network of different peers as well. So I think that since I was in this in particular industry for 4 years in one city, I had this siloed or this kind of bubble of world that I lived in, but I did not interact with a lot of different professionals, maybe engineers from Bangalore or someone from marketing from Mumbai or someone who's worked in the US or someone who worked in some medical company. So I just knew that an MBA opens the doors for you to network with so many other professionals, that your knowledge will expand through the peer learning as well. and you have the time at that point to actually get to know these different kind of people and understand and learn from their experiences. So these are some of the push factors that led me to an MBA. Now, coming back to the search for schools, it was a very complex decision, I'll be honest. When I started out, I looked at, okay, so first decision for me was why MBA, which I have answered. Then I thought about where MBA, which is the second question. So for me, I personally felt that an MBA is very valuable if it's from a reputed school. And so that was one of the criteria for me, that if I'm doing an MBA, because I was doing, say, fine in my career, there was a linear path I would have grown in there as well. But for me to take that time off and then incur that expense was also, I was thinking about uh, which school would work for me. And so when I thought about it, I understood that no matter where I do an MBA, US, Canada, or India, these are the three countries I outlined. I wanted to go to one of the best schools in that country, because the best school gives you access to the best networks. You also have good relations with the market, and you have a solid brand on your resume. And an MBA is a brand as well. Where you do your MBA matters a lot, because the curriculum can be the same, but the institution where you do it, that will make a big difference. So then during my thinking, I went through some of the schools, and in the US, I looked at the top 5 or 10 schools. Then I went to Canada, I saw Rotman, Schulich, these schools, UBC, Sauder. And then within India, I made a decision of ISBN, top 4 or 5 IIMs. So I just ticked them off amongst then I saw the eligibility criteria. Do I fulfill it? Then it seemed that, okay, I have 4 years of experience. That's fine. I haven't done the GMAT or the GRE, which I need to do. Then I've understood that I also need to have a compelling reason why I'm doing an MBA, which I was working on. And then I saw that these are the criteria for the 1 year MBA. In India, I calculated with my WorkX which 1 year MBAs I'm eligible for. So at that point, I realized that I'm missing the mark for IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, because they require more than 5 or 6 years. So then I was eligible for a few in India, like ISB, IIM, PGPBL, and then of course IIM Udaipur, the DEM and the program there. And in Europe, I was falling short of WorkX requirements for most of the schools. INSEAD, HEC, they would require a slightly more amount of experience, even Oxford and those schools. And US had 2 year MBA, so there also 1 year was much further. You needed maybe 7 to 6 years. So then my options dropped to these. I made a list of maybe 10 to 12 target schools. And then I decided that where I'm lacking my application, then I decided to take the GMAT or the GRE. So I made a decision that I'd take the GRE, because I thought that my skills would come out, my would be better, and I would have a better score on that test.
Right. So once you are done with the GRE, then starts the application process. So how was the application process like, and what are the important things to put up a strong application?
Well, the application process is actually very complex, and the reason is that each school looks for a certain needs you to check off a lot of lists, which you and a lot of candidates will have. But then they also want to see your fitment with the school, and now this is happening almost everywhere. Be it in the school in the US or Canada, even in India, especially when you're going for these executive programs, you need to fit in with their class. And that's a very big challenge, because a lot of us seem to have all the academic credentials and we have decent test scores. We can acquire all the lists on the check mark. And then you realize that now you think you're done, but then the process begins there, because now you have all the basic requirements, but now you have to put this together and also showcase how you add value to that class, or why this particular program is well suited for you. So you have to convince the school that you're the best match for that, and that's where the challenge is. So you have to first read up on the school. Why did they start their program? What are the things they look for in candidates? You can research for past years, try to get a sense of admission trends. I was doing this for ISB. I did this for IIM Udaipur, IIM Kozhikode in India. Then abroad, when I applied to Georgetown, I did it for them as well. And I was trying to get a sense of what is the profile of the average person admitted, what kind of interviews do they go through, how should you prepare for the interview. Now, this is where you can set yourself apart, is the admissions essay, because once you've done your research, then you need to put together a list of essays, and mostly it'll be more than one essay, maybe 2 essays or 3 essays need to be written. The essay, I felt, is a very crucial part of your application, because that's where you get to differentiate yourself from the other candidates and also show your fitment to the school. So it's one of the most powerful arsenals that you have. And to write a compelling essay takes a lot of time because you need to first be aware of yourself as well, that what do I bring? And so for me, I had all these different experiences, but then I had to come up with the one idea that because of these experiences, I am so and so as a professional, and this is what I will bring to the school or to the class where I go. These will be my contribution. This is why I'm different from the other candidates. And that's an individual journey. That's where you don't have a template. So that was the very challenging area. I felt that getting those essays right, that took a while, and that took maybe a month or more. And I'm glad I had the time to submit them and work on them, because I think that more than even the GMAT GRE, that process where you put together your application essays and your other, that makes or breaks your application.
Yeah. So then ideally, what is the time to, keep aside for writing a strong application? So by when should you get done with your GMAT or GRE and then start working on the application part?
So after you're done with your GMAT and GRE, you should have a minimum of a month to your application date, preferably more than a month, minimum a month, but a month to 2 months. So suppose you're done in August with your GMAT or GRE and you have to apply by October. You need those 2 months to work on your application, because now you have all the basic requirements. So now you're writing your essay. You might have to go through 4 to 5 at least rewrites, because the first time when you write your essay, you'll write everything about your career, different things. Then you start distilling it down into, okay, I am these 15 things, but what is relevant are these 4 things that I've done. Or I have these 10 projects, but I need to showcase these 3 projects. So it becomes a process of elimination. So you have to look at your entire career with a sort of a bird eye view, and then pick out your wins, your accomplishments. And that's not very obvious at first, because your first iteration will never be the best one. And so over that month, you need that time to think, reflect on it as well. You cannot do it in haste that, oh, I have this 1 week where I'll crank out my 2000 word application, because once you put in your first draft, your second draft, then you might need some time to reflect on it and also collect opinion of other people. You might have to speak to, if you have a counselor, then speak to your counselor, you speak to your parents, your friends, your peers who are in MBA schools. You might want to get advice from other people. And that process takes time, because you'll have to distill their advice into actionable points and then make those changes. So I recommend minimum a month, but up to 2 months of time to work exclusively on your essays.
Right. And, what was the interview experience like? So you've interviewed with a few schools. How was it different, or what was it that helped you in the preparation part as well?
Well, so the interview for business schools is actually one of the very important components, because if you're making it to the interview stage, that means that the school considers you a strong applicant enough to be in their class. So that's already that now they are finding a reason to just back their decision. So you getting there is a big achievement. And so when I got called for 2 interviews, I can take you through. The first one was IIM Udaipur. I got for the digital enterprise management interview. And so during that interview, they focused a lot on this one question, why MBA and why MBA right now, and why MBA right now from this school. So here, the first part is, why do you want to do an MBA? Whereby you have to first explain the different aspects of your career, of what you've done in the past, and what you're hoping to get out of the program. And here, this expectation is important. What do you expect that this MBA will provide you? You need to be realistic. It has to be more than, oh, it will get me a placement or a job. It has to also align with your journey as a professional. And so answering this question is difficult, because this hopefully you've already covered this in your essay, but you should have this very clear about, and it could be different people have very different reasons for doing an MBA. So I have a peer here who's doing an MBA because he wants to move into the Indian job market from the US. I have someone who wants to switch from engineering to consulting. Then there is some person who was working in project management and they want to become a more senior person in project management. So this answer is not templatized, and your interviewer has met lots of people, so they know the drive and the authenticity that comes when you provide your unique answer. So I think in that interview, they focused a lot on why MBA. Then they asked me about that this is a new program for digital enterprise management. So why does digital and why are you enthusiastic about digital? Which is fine. Now they're asking me about their program and how do I fit in with their program. So you should have had you've done your basic research, and you should have knowledge about the program's curriculum, and the kind of job opportunities it provides, or the past batch profile, how you fit in. So you might have some experiences in digital, or you might want to be transitioning into digital. So you should have those points highlighted with you, that okay, so in my past experience, I worked on these XYZ projects that were digital transformation or digital marketing or some aspect. And I want to learn more about how data will impact decision making, or how transformation will happen in a larger enterprise. And so you need to put together that fitment with the school. You showcase that as well. So the interviewer, there were two alums, and they seemingly were satisfied with my answers. They said that and the last part is, of course, you as a candidate. So the interviewer is now getting to put a face to the name. So you can showcase your authentic side as well, your hobbies, things you are passionate about, or what are your views on different issues. They might ask you your views on a few issues. So you expected to have some knowledge about things happening in the industry, or you have some examples that, yes, these are the trends I've seen last year. And in 2022, we saw these, maybe some macroeconomic trends that you know about, or you can talk about major acquisitions or startups. So any aspect, anything that interests you, you should show your passion for that. Typically, they might give you an open-ended chance also to say that, what do you think, there are any important business trends this year that you felt would impact a lot of companies? So you should have some. So that is about your own natural curiosity, and they can also ask you to, in your tell me about yourself as well. You can give them some insight about which industry you are curious about. It could be marketing, it could be supply chain or retail, or you were interested in finance and you want to learn more about fintech. So typically, you should have some talking points around that as well. Now, coming back to my second interview, the IIM Kozhikode interview for PGP in business leadership. So here, the interview was more behavioral, I'd say, a little more open-ended. So they asked me initially about my past experience, which I went through. Then they gave me some situations. If you were working in a project and you had these situations, how would you deal with them? These are your typical questions where your personality comes out, that, okay, how do you handle crisis, or how do you manage projects, or what are you a team player when you work within a team, what were your experiences there? So more open-ended and conversational. The interview for IIM Kozhikode was more conversational, and they also asked me a lot, drill down into my marketing experience. Say, okay, how do you measure the efficacy of a campaign, or when you're working on a campaign, which stakeholders do you consult? How did you manage your budget for the campaign? What would be your budget for this kind of campaign? So there's a chance that your interviewer might be from your industry, which typically does happen. And so there you can be expected to be asked domain specific questions. So if you're from finance, you have a finance interview on the panel. So they will then want to drill down into the depth of your knowledge as well. So while you need to have your why MBA, why this particular school, and your interests, you should be prepared for domain specific answers. And those you can typically supply through your experiences at work. You've done a project in your domain, so your learnings from that project, how it could be improved. Then they also had a rapid fire round in IIM Kozhikode, where they asked me a lot of general knowledge questions, which was very unexpected. And I think I got maybe 60 odd percent of them correct and 40% of them wrong. And I had the grace to admit that, no, sir, I don't know this question. And they said, try, give an attempt. So you might have something surprising in store in the interview as well. So it's good to be well read, I'd say, about normal trends. Read the newspaper, magazines, these things, to keep abreast of the news while you are going for these interviews.
Right. So what would be some tips and strategies for people who are planning to set a foot on this journey in the next few months, and they'll be writing the GMAT? And so what are some do's and don'ts that you will suggest to them?
Right. So the MBA application process, it has become very competitive. I'd start with that. And why I'm saying this is because amongst the schools as well, there's a lot of competition to get the best candidates and the best profiles, and they look for that. So while they are looking for those students, typically what will happen is some of the top applicants will have offers from multiple schools. Such is the case nowadays. So you need to understand that your competition is equally motivated, and so first things first is put your best foot forward, which means play to your strengths when you're building your application. So when you have a GMAT or GRE, choose the exam where you'll get a higher score. There is no template that if you do these magic things, you will crack the application. There is no set in stone template. In my class, we have such diverse people and scores ranging from so much that I don't think two people will have the same sort of background. So what you need to do is play to your strengths. So suppose you're choosing the test. Choose a test that gives you the best score. Don't assume that, oh, just because everyone's saying I should take the GMAT, but I'm so much better on the other test that I'll take this one. I think that's what I'd start with. The second aspect is work a lot on your choice of schools. So if you can identify which schools are likely to take you based on their past experiences, or which school do you have a culture fitment or a fitment with, then that's very important. Maybe some school is looking at 5-year experienced people in this particular domain or something like that. Some other school is saying, no, we'll take 3 years plus as well. Some want 7. So the odds are that you will get into school where you are in the sweet range of their applicants. They'll have the ideal range that, oh, we are looking for say 4 to 5 years of experience or 3 to 5 years of experience. Those candidates will have a bigger advantage. So then first is like find your best test and find the schools which are aligned with exactly what you have. There you have a higher chance. The third part is that the essays. Spend a lot of time on the essays. Get your why MBA completely. You should have that clarity throughout, because that is something that has motivated your search. So why MBA is very crucial, and it might take you up to a month to prepare your essays. Prepare multiple versions of essays for each school. Now you have 4 schools you're applying to. You might have 4 to 8 essays to write. So that's a very time-consuming process. And if you rush it, you might not have the best output. So understand that process, maybe you have 2 months, then you can do it. I'd recommend that you get that right. And lastly, you have to collect letter of recommendations from, and so you need to also inform those people in advance that you need to collect LORs from them, and maybe your managers have a conversation with them. The preparation of your CV is important, your CV that goes for your MBA schools, because they typically have a format where you need to supply it in your career in a certain way. And also, once you're done with these applications, hopefully you've already sent your application to 4 places. Now you need to actually start preparing for your interview, because that's a different ball game. So you have to be prepared that you can't wait until you get the call for the interview. You should already have a game plan or a basic template in focus, and read about past interviews that have been asked, talk to peers, talk to experienced counselors or people who've gone through the process to understand how to crack the MBA interview. Because if you make it to the interview and you falter there, then you will have a lot to regret, because you're nearly at the finish line. And the last part is expect the unexpected. Many people were on wait list this year. In my program, there are waiting list 40 has crossed, I think, something like that. So other programs, similar situation. So it's not over until it's over. And cast a net not very wide, but wide enough. Maybe when you're applying, strategically select maybe 5 schools, but don't go over 10 or 11, because then your application quality will start decreasing. So have a wide net, but and also have a safety school. Have a safety school in mind where you feel like you will get in. If you are committed to the process and you get everything right, you will be there at your safety school. And yeah, these are, I think, my quick tips.
Yeah. So one last question. A lot of people, they come to these, they are actually aspiring for the 1-year program because of the career transition that they seek. So you've been a part of that journey yourself. So what, apart from getting into the MBA program, is something that really, helps you navigate that career transition at the end of the 1-year process?
Sure. So the 1-year MBA program is a very interesting program, because typically what happens is that you have a lot to do. It's extremely compressed. So you should know that in terms of your curriculum, you're not very far away from the 2-year program. They compress it a lot, but your academic workload is immense. So now once you get into the program, then the question comes in, what do I want out of this program? And you need to be very clear on this question again. So you've come to an MBA program for a reason. So you'll have certain industries or certain fields where you want to go in. And it could be different for different people. You could go wanting to say, I want to go into consulting, or I want to go into marketing, or I was in finance, I'm looking for a role in finance. Now, you might have this sort of outcome that you've planned out. Now, the purpose of an MBA, typically of a 1-year program, is also to transition you into a manager or a leader later. And so the first few semesters, when you have your core terms and these things, you have to understand, get conceptual clarity of different subjects. So that's what I'd say, that, and also it's chance to improve your communication skills, because the MBA is also a journey where you learn to synthesize a lot of information and communicate them to an audience. A lot of the course is about doing a lot of presentations, doing case analysis. That's the pedagogy that we have. So you need to be comfortable with analyzing one problem with 4 lenses. That's the end goal of the MBA, that if you have a business problem that's presented to you, you should be able to look at it from operations point of view, finance point of view, marketing point of view, strategy point of view. Now your professors and your peers will help you learn all these concepts, but you should develop that mental lens at a certain point and shed your old identity and start looking at things from this new lens that you've gained. And once you do that, you have to complement that with good communication skills. Now, the 1 year MBA, suppose you join in April or something, it'll be you will start interviewing almost within 6-7 months. So there's not a long time. And these interviews are different. Post your MBA interviews that happen for your jobs, they'll be typically case interviews, or they'll have business problems that are presented to you. So they are looking for a certain structure in your thinking, and you have time to develop that. But I think post you joining, gain conceptual clarity on the main levels of business, improve your communication skills, and a structured thinking process for case discussions, case analysis, and you understand the end game, that you are here to transition into a next career. So learn about the industry you want to go into and understand how to crack the interviews for that industry, how to build your profile for that industry. Do you have to do any certifications that will help you? These things, all of it come together later. But when you start your MBA, you should understand that in the end, if I'm going to say I'm going into consulting, so I need to showcase that I'm very good at having solved a lot of business problems. I need to build my CV in a certain way. Different industries have different CVs. So having clarity of thought will help you a lot. You choose the right set of electives for yourself. You understand where you are faltering. Is your CV well made? Are you prepared for your post MBA interview? Have you learned how to do case discussions? So focus on these 3-4 things, and have an end in mind. So that's very important. You should know where you're going, because it's easy to get a little lost in the first few months. There's so many new things. You're meeting so many people. There's so many possibilities that are open, and they are open. All these possibilities are actually open for you, but you need to dial down into where you're going, and have a lot of clarity about what you want out of your MBA experience. For some, it could be that they want to do a lot of case competitions. Some people might want to take academic responsibilities in student bodies. Some might say that, no, I want to go on the exchange program. Some might want to work on a live project. Now you can't do it all. So you have to choose which switches you want to click on, where you want to build your profile. And that clarity is important. You have the first 2-3 terms first 2 terms at least to do that. So again, it's the same as your application before you came to MBA. Please remember that you are different, and why you are in the program and what you want out of the program. Again, there's no template in my class. I've seen different people have had different paths to success, or wherever. No 2 people have tried to do the same thing. So again, remember what sets you apart from people and play to your strengths.